I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Shockphobia Fest. Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Shockphobia Fest, a month-long celebration of All Hallows Eve's most frightening films and comic spooks. And today, I have a veritable man-monster in our presence. I don't know how else to describe.
You've looked at me and you've lost it because of my giant baby-like cheeks.
I know, you're so sweet. He's not a monster.
6 foot man, giant shoulders, big hairy chest, cheeks like a baby.
And he's so handsome. But he is here to talk about another one of our favourite man monsters. We are going to talk about Swamp Thing, and it is the one, the only, the Chanaconda himself, Michael Chandler. Hello, sir.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Never been called Chanaconda on a recording before.
Yes.
Like the sound of it. Sarah could take notes. But no, honestly, really good, because finally the world is talking about Swamp Thing.
It is
too long.
It is. And you're a huge fan of Swamp Thing, and we're going to talk a little bit about Swamp Thing's history, where he came from, you know, the development, the work of Alan Moore specifically, and then on to the already cancelled TV show
Hate crime
that has just arrived on Amazon Prime if you want to get stuck in. 2019 Swamp Thing.
Hate crime against sentient vegetables. That's what it is. I can't have one cabbage with a personality without somebody cancelling it.
I mean, he must be the original vegan superhero, surely.
He was a spokesperson for Greenpeace. It was... Well, no doubt we're going to discuss this at some point, but, you know, you needed one hero to immortalise the Earth.
Yeah.
We're doing it for nature. Who'd you have? The big old sentient cabbage, my boy Swamp Thing.
I mean, the Earth is not necessarily a pretty and, you know, beautiful place.
No, Anton messes that up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The depths he went to.
So let's go back to the beginning. Like, what, when and where and who created this Mossy Man-Beast?
Well, let's take the common misconception. It's not one person. Okay. Swamp Thing isn't one entity. Swamp Thing is merely an avatar of a force we call the Green. So if you imagine the Green as like a battery, so the battery gives out energy to those it deems worthy, and those who deem worthy have to recharge the Green as well. So it's an avatar. So Swamp Thing is known as the avatar of the Green. Those before him have been the avatar of the Green. Those after him will be the avatar of the Green. Depending on which version you read, because they've rebooted him, they've modernised him, they've gone back and they've retconned many things.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got to be really careful where you read from Swamp Thing, because if you read the very first appearance, it's not Alec Holland, it's Alex Olsen. Now, they obviously have to change that because they didn't like the name Olsen, because it was currently being used by Jimmy Olsen.
Of course, yeah.
So they didn't want to stick with Alex either, so they moved on to...
Also, it was set in the 1700s. It was very gothic horror, wasn't it?
It was very much what lives in the shadows monster. Yeah. It wasn't a personality. It was a grunting beast that I believe came from a bad murder that came back. So,
basically, yeah. I think it was if I remember rightly, the kind of best friend loved the best friend's wife and decided to kill off the husband, and then the husband came back in the form of a Swamp Thing because he
big old revenge story
disposed of the body, and it's very classic. I think it was, I want to say, House of Secrets.
It was, yeah. That recently got republished in a facsimile edition. So anybody who's looking to read it, your local comic book retailer should be able to get you a copy for about £3.50.
Yeah.
So you get a piece of history, not only for Swamp Thing, they've done first Ra's al Ghul, they've done first Poison Ivy recently. Comic Den still has on the shelf the classic Joker cover where he's holding the cards.
Of course.
I can never remember too much about the issue because I've just been so stuck in Deceased.
To be fair, it's only about 10 pages or so. It's like a backstory to that. I mean, these horror comics are like anthology comics, much like the ones me and Den discussed on one of the previous podcasts. We talked about how all the horror comics came from out of the comic book code era, and they kind of started, trialing things out. And it's one of these things like Spider-Man, the Amazing Fantasy 15 was the last issue of that run of fantastical stories. And Spider-Man, the sales for Spider-Man were through the roof. So they're like, this character's popular. Let's do a series.
Stole the heart of the nation.
So, and that's exactly what happened with Swamp Thing. He became a very popular character. They loved the story. They loved the gothic feel, the horror. And they thought, well, let's modernize it. Let's take it a little bit more kind of sci-fi and get it in the modern DC universe so he can interact with all those amazing characters the DC pantheon has to offer.
But nobody really matches Swamp Thing. That's what I like about him. You look into the comics, you've got Poison Ivy, who's got a connection to the Green. You've got Jason Woodrue with a connection to the Green. And then within his own series, mainly in the New 52, you learn about the previous avatars. Even hints at new foundations being built. You've got the entire potential of the machines becoming an avatar. Needing an avatar for their parliament. You've got a parliament of death, decay, water, life, everything. Red, the Flesh, Animal Man.
Yes.
He's very tuned into the red.
So yeah, he's, so basically he's an avatar for the Green, and there's all these parliaments, quote unquote parliaments. So these, ancient kind of, they all represent a kind of energy force, if you will.
They do, and they have to be
a
in
life
balance.
form.
Also conflict. You can't have balance without conflict in these series.
I think Animal Man's one is called the Parliament of the Limbs, because it's all about animals.
Normally narrowed down to the red.
Yes,
so,
the red.
As you can
call it the red.
When you break it down into the Swamp Thing New 52, you've got the time, it's more of a full run that just cross over. You've got the Animal Man run, which also moves on into the Swamp Thing run. They merge for the Rock World storyline against Anton Arcane.
Yeah.
And it's just a joy. The main focus of the 52...
basically a big event. That one was like a big event.
Went over everything. Yeah. Teen Titans, Justice League. It even rolled into... Was it Brightest Day and Blackest Night had part of that as well?
Maybe. I'm not entirely...
It was...
I think it began there because Brightest Day was just prior to Flashpoint, and that's when they reset the universe. But we're going way way into the future here. So let's go back to his origins. So Alec Holland. Who is Alec Holland?
Oh, he's very far from Swamp Thing. He goes on a big journey from being exploded in his lab, ends up in the swamp. I think they called them microbial worms. I think that's what they said. Yeah. When his body was exploded, he was doing research on the swamp life, seeing why it was misbehaving, why it was working.
He came up with a bio-restorative formula, which was to help kind of initiate plant growth on a wide scale.
Idea was to, populate fruit in Africa, in the deserts. Can we grow crops that we've never been able to in quantities that we've never been able to? Genuinely good things. So his lab was raided by terrorists, which the story uncovers a bit more. Yeah, and he ends up in the swamp. The microbial worms apparently eat his flesh away, and he's burnt, he's disfigured, he's dead. Yeah. He's done. He's gone. Crispy. He's done. There's barely a skeleton.
Yeah.
But out comes the swamp monster. Now, we don't learn what happens for a while.
What a coincidence.
Just so happened that he knew a lot of the same things. But we don't learn about what actually happens to Alec until the autopsy. Which was one of my all-time favourite scenes, which I'm definitely going to be talking about a lot when we talk about the episodes.
True.
It was just a genuine joy. But the reason I like Alex so much is he's very inquisitive. He's not a scientist doing world domination. No. He's not trying to cure a virus. He's gone right to the roots of a simple problem. Literally the roots.
Yeah, very nice.
So, we haven't got enough food for the mouth we have to feed.
Yeah.
Make more food. Simple. We've got plant strains for medicine that are dying out. Make more.
Yeah. Deserts, desolate crops dying, potato famines and all that other stuff.
Which is something they change in the series, though. The bio-restorative formula doesn't seem to be his. They don't really go over it very much. It's like he's discovering somebody else's work. But they never really clarify that.
It feels to me that it's Jason Woodrue. He created the accelerant. They call it an accelerant.
They do, yeah.
And I think Jason Woodrue creates it and puts into the swamp, and then the swamp kind of reacts to that, says it's unnatural, and
the swamp fights back.
Yeah, so they develop a green flu and literally puts like trees and vines through people.
I did love the green flu, coughing up leaves and plant matter and green gunk.
Yeah,
and it was made scarier because it was in children. Which one of the things that I kind of disagreed with was that, but as much as I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but I love it.
Yes.
So why is the swamp attacking children? It's always observed. It's always had a force governing it, which we now know to be the Parliament.
Yeah.
And it's always said that those who attack it, it will attack back. Children.
Yeah, I mean, that's questionable.
But then again, you see what happens with that child.
But, the origin is, he's developing this bio-restorative formula. Terrorists want it to use it. I think they want to just make money off it. And, he was burnt alive. His wife is killed. who's also a scientist, jumps into the swamp, and then the swamp creature comes out. And in the original story, the swamp monster, the swamp thing, is Alec Holland.
It is.
Yes.
It was something that was later done over again by Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Now, Alan
So
Moore
he
was
kind of
known-
rebooted the character, didn't he?
Kind of. This is what I like.
It's like a
about it.
soft reboot.
Because while reboot is an accurate term, the mantle of Swamp Thing's been passed around. The idea that you can summon a new avatar, you can summon an old avatar, you can resurrect them apparently, and you can do all sorts of things. So you didn't need to reboot it. You added more history, which is a good way of doing it. When you go into the New 52, you go into the older ones and you patch the gaps, which is why Alex Olsen wasn't a rewrite. It was just past history.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's something you've done, from the future to
It's
edit the
basically
past.
it was basically kind of a retcon. They kind of in a way.
But it wasn't such like Flashpoint or anything like that. It was a bit more easy to digest. It wasn't like, okay, this is a very clear cut where we're changing history.
Yeah.
It was subtle little changes. And I think that went a long way with the adult audience because it's an adult book.
Oh, definitely.
It's a horror story.
I mean, it basically jump-started DC Vertigo, which is, adult storytelling for adult readers, even said on the books like for mature readers or mature horror or something. Or sophisticated horror, wasn't
I
it?
saw some things in that and I do believe it was sophisticated.
Yeah,
horror.
I believe it was sophisticated.
One of my early Swamp Thing books, I started with, it was a book by Andy Diggle. I believe it was 2004, 2006, somewhere there. It was called The Bad Seed.
Okay.
Now, it was one of the original Vertigo runs, and it was about Tefe Holland, the child of...
I think that's Brian K. Vaughan, I think. I don't know if Andy Diggle maybe wrote her afterwards, but I know he created Tefe.
It was...
I think.
The story basically involved her getting more powerful with the use of a crystal. And you ended up having these two titanic clashes between her as an avatar of the red and Swamp Thing as the green. And there were like 30-foot tall kaijus fighting each other. There was a part where Tefe rips stomachs from corpses in the ground, blocks out the sun thinking it will weaken Swamp Thing. What does Swamp Thing do? Snaps his finger. All of it turns into fire. The gas inside them lights up, and it's like, oh, child, you think you could defeat me?
Yeah, exactly.
Ends up killing his daughter. Oh, and in the way, she resurrected some naked beings who, hopped off the good foot, did the bad thing while heavily mutated. And that was on page, 10.
Okay.
So it's an adult book.
Okay. So we've had the origin. So, Alan Moore he takes the character in some very weird places. My favourite storyline is the American Gothic storyline, where it introduces John Constantine and he sends him on this journey.
Back when he looked like Sting.
Yes, exactly. Well, he was designed to look like Sting. That was the whole point. He was, people were like, I want to draw Sting, and they're like, fine, off you go.
Do it and have him swear.
But, and John Constantine is a huge character, and he's spun off and has had his own, TV show.
Carried Vertigo as well.
Yeah, animated, all these kind of characters as well. I think the modern DC universe was, this was on the way to Watchmen. This is on the way to The Dark Knight Returns. This was when comics were changing in such a huge way and trying to capitalize on being, like we said, sophisticated suspense or,
not just spandex-clad adventures.
Exactly. And it's not like I think Alan Moore said in a couple of interviews that it's, a boy power fantasy. And that's not what he was trying to do. And he was trying to introduce these ideas, that he's not a human being. This character is a vegetable.
With delusions of grandeur.
With delusions of grandeur, yeah. He thinks he's a vegetable who thinks he's a man. And that opened up so many interesting doors and psychology and characterizations that, it's a simple idea, but it's also quite brilliant as well.
Very incomparable.
Yeah.
Who thought, all right, we've got a big monster, but what if he was a salad? Yeah, okay.
Let's
run that through the writer's room.
We've had swamp monsters before that have been mostly mindless. So in the creation of Swamp Thing, I'm going to go over to Marvel just for a little bit. The creation of Swamp Thing is controversial because both writers from Marvel and DC were living together in the same apartment, and within the same month, both characters debuted. Now, bit weird, coincidental. However, I think the Man-Thing slightly earlier than Swamp Thing. However, Swamp Thing has been in more media, and I think the issue with Man-Thing is that he does not have a mind. No. He does not have a character. He was a guy. It's the same origin basically.
I'll be real with you.
Yeah.
Don't know Man-Thing.
No.
It's something you've been trying to get me to read for a while, but my problem is, I love Swamp Thing. I'm not putting down my Swamp Thing book.
That's fine, but I think if you ever get bored of that, there's some really interesting stuff you can find. I think there's a lot of Alan Moore that comes from Man-Thing, dropping LSD and writing comics.
Where would I start?
Where would you start? You would start with the Man-Thing Complete Collection, or one of the essential Man-Things in black and white they brought out.
I do like my black and white Swamp Monsters.
There you go, then.
My Saga of the Swamp Things are all in black and white. As much as I love the coloured reprints, I just love black and white. When you've got Swamp Monsters on the background of Swamp.
If I can go home and pick up those copies for you, I can. I've got Volume 1 and Volume 2, and it's the full run by Steve Gerber, who basically what I call acid comics. They're about as weird as you can get. There's one where a clown kills himself and then puppeteers all the other characters around him, and they basically act out his life.
Dan, is your reading list a cry for help?
Always.
Glad we've been over that.
My entire life is.
All right, have you read the Swamp Thing Winter Special?
I've not.
Let's swap.
Okay, we'll do a swap. Right. We'll do a swap. But there's some great stuff in there, and it's wacky and weird stuff that brings to mind the Alan Moore stuff. So I think there is... I like to think that he read some of that. Like Steve Gerber even contacted Len Wein, who co-created the character of Swamp Thing. He rang him up and went, right, what are you doing on Swamp Thing? What are the stories you're telling? And Steve Gerber went, I'm going to do the exact opposite, and went on these weird, trippy adventures where Man-Thing fights a barbarian made out of peanut butter.
I've seen Swamp Thing run around as popcorn.
I know. And
that was 30 years later.
Yeah, but this is back mid-70s, proper adventurous kind of comics. And the Len Wein Swamp Thing stuff is great. It's really good. But it's the Steve Gerber Man-Thing. It's on a different level.
Two sides of a coin.
Exactly. Still good. Both very good. Both classic comic books, and a lot of has come after, but Swamp Thing has the advantage of having a mind. Man-Thing's great if you put him around loads of other great characters, like a Cypher. He's interesting, but only with decent characters surrounding him. His supporting cast is very strong. But with Swamp Thing, the advantage is he is still a man, effectively. He's a vegetable, he's fully a vegetable, but he has the mind, or the memories, and the consciousness.
Mainly the emotions as well,
and yeah,
which he doesn't know how to process, which is a big part of his storytelling.
And we see some really interesting stuff, especially like in Alan Moore's run, especially, we see a love story between a vegetable and a woman.
You're with the sexy sap that tastes like lime.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, we have this big, like, he grows these kind of spores, and he shares them with Abigail Arcane, who is the lead female character in all these stories for the most part. And they go on they kind of connect. They swap kind of consciousnesses, and they experience things on a new plane of
Glad
existence.
to see that's been referenced recently.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that's so unique, and they do call it, unfortunately, they call it the swamp sex book or swamp sex scene, and effectively it is, but it's sharing all of yourself on a truly emotional level, on a intimate psychological level with somebody else.
The only thing I'd say is if anybody's looking into it, make sure you read it in the Saga of the Swamp Thing, because it's shared over double-page spreads. And it's one of them's like a map of Swamp Thing's body through her mind, and then you've got this vast landscape. It's visually very well told, as well as...
The artwork is absolutely beautiful.
Abby's face is one of the best things drawn in comics.
Yeah.
Every little detail is just crisp, perfect, or soft and perfect, or just genuinely really well done with the setting.
And if you're not scared by these stories, fair enough, but you will be disturbed. You will be truly disturbed. Yeah. It's the way it's drawn, the way it's portrayed, all these kind of dark, disturbing characters like
the Unmen.
Yeah, the Unmen, like Anton Arcane and the Rot and things like that. There's a lot in there to enjoy, even if you're not a fan of horror per se. Go and seek these books out, because they are gorgeous to look at. Any of these books.
But love this and love the series. So one of the things I loved about it is how far they'll go just to be weird. Not for just the sake of being weird, but to open doors to other weird and other scary and other don't tell your friends because they're going to think you're a freak. Like, you tell me a 13-year-old child is running around raping his sister and eating roadkill that have maggots in it. I would probably ask you to leave.
Yeah. Like we said.
Unfortunately, I'm weird too, so I want you to tell me more. Tell me more about that. So how were the maggots? Were they soft and chewy?
How do you describe the taste of maggots?
Yeah. Well, but no, the story, again, it's one that's been told multiple times.
Yeah.
I feel the New 52 has really polished a lot of the Alan Moore run, but it's take it or leave it. If you're happy with the Alan Moore run, you're a fuddy-duddy.
Yeah.
Alan Moore reading later on stuff.
Yeah, if you've read Alan Moore stuff and you enjoyed his writing, I think Swamp Thing is great. I do think my interest drops later in the run. It's not... Some of it, like, I love Alan Moore, but some of it does become a little pretentious here and there, and it does become a bit like, okay.
Volume 3 was a particularly hard one to get through for me.
Yeah, which
one was that? The little space creatures, the little, the ones in the red and blue suits that came out of a little UFO.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well, for me, it's when he went to space. Like, there's some great stories in there, but there's also some where I'm like, do I really need to read a story about a Green Lantern who's also a tree?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Anyway.
Tell you what, I'm just going to throw this memory in there. Do you remember when we were at that comic book quiz and we ended up having an argument with a guy about a green...
yes.
Was it Mogo the gorilla?
Yeah, so we were at the... We won the quiz.
We did.
We won the quiz.
Prizes, me, you and Sarah.
It was Batman Day. You, me and Sarah went.
We beat 5 people on their phones.
Yeah.
3 of us without any phones.
Exactly. And yeah, the question was, in DC Comics, who's the character Mogo? And I went, oh, great. It's not even to do with Batman. It's brilliant. It's, Mogo.
You didn't think outside the box.
Yeah.
You steamrolled the box.
I was like, the box does not exist. So I was like, it's Mogo. It's the greatest, the largest Green Lantern there is. One of the strongest Green Lanterns there is. He is a sentient planet. So I was like, it's got to be Mogo. What other Mogos are in DC Comics?
A gorilla, Dan.
Yes.
A bat gorilla, Dan.
A bat gorilla. So you have Titano, which is the super gorilla, but I didn't realise there was a bat gorilla.
There's so many gorillas in DC.
It was popular. Like whenever they put a gorilla on the cover, the sales would spike. So almost every week there'd be a gorilla on the cover.
I want them all posed together like the Ginyu Force. Why is that some sick fantasy of mine?
That's definitely unusual. My favourite moment of that quiz was I remember we called ourselves the Order of Saint Dumbass, which is a play on the Order of Saint Dumas from Batman Nightfall.
We're very big nerds.
We are quite nerdy. But my favourite was like, who was Batman's first love interest? And everyone was like, you were like, oh, it's Vicky Vale. It was Vicky Vale. I went, no, I don't think it is. I think it's Julie something.
I could hear you literally going through your catalogue.
I was like,
there is a word here. There is a word. 2 words. 2 words. I make a name. A love interest for the Dark Knight.
I'm like, it's Julie something. It's got to be Julie something. And I was like, Julie Madison. It's Julie Madison. Not loud. I didn't say this loud.
See, when Dan gets excited, we know to trust him because that's when he's dug in the vault.
It's going to be that. And I was like, put it down, because everyone's going to think it's Vicky Vale. Put it down. And you were like, yeah, let's do it. What is the harm? We lose one question. 1 point. And after we handed in the quiz, I was like, I'm going to Google that because I want to be 100% sure. And I was like,
and how smug did you look when
I was so. And the fact that we won, I was like,
by 1 point.
Was it by 1 point?
Yeah.
That was it. That was the one then.
I found it really suspicious because the other group got it right. And I know for a fact none of them actually read comics.
Yeah.
I know them personally. So when we were handed our prizes, I was a little bit like, well. Look who showed up to just get our prizes.
I took the comic. I think you took a T-shirt.
I got a mug. Sarah
you got a mug.
T-shirt.
Yeah,
it was like a Lego Batman mug.
It's amazing.
Had little
it's
handles,
nice.
like little.
It was in a Fab Cafe. If you frequent Manchester, it's kind of a geek.
We're gonna have a word with Den about doing quizzes.
Yeah, we should do something. Well, that quiz that I came to at the Comic Den that night was brilliant. I had a great time.
Do you mean you versus me and the other people?
Pretty much.
I tell you what, there was a question on it. I've been kicking myself since, and it was the name of Ant-Man's daughter in the film.
Cassie Lang.
Yeah. Where was that in my head? Took 5 of us 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it has one of my favourite lines. It's so ugly, I love him.
Yeah. Also known as Stature or Stinger in the comic books.
Is everybody a superhero?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If you're related to a superhero, you're probably going to become
even a postman's well known in the Marvel universe.
Willie Lumpkin.
When are you cosplaying that? We've talked about this for...
We have talked about it.
I've known you for... coming up 9 years.
Jesus.
No, it can't be.
No, it can't be 9 years.
We worked at, let's say, the hostel for... 6, 7, 8, somewhere
it must be like that, yeah.
And ever since we've been doing nerdy things separately. We used to meet in the workplace.
We did some podcasts for.
We don't really work anymore, do we?
Well, I mean, I do.
I don't. I sit in a comic shop and talk nerdy. It's really nice, actually.
That's great. It's a great job. I want that job.
Do you want
to do a swap? You want to do what I do?
Speaking of the unmen,
yes.
Let's go back to the comics.
Yeah, let's go back to the comics. So yeah, I think for me the pinnacle of Alan Moore's run comes in the middle. It's called American Gothic. Like we said, John Constantine says, you don't know anything about being the Avatar of the Green. You don't even know how to do this.
No.
Because Swamp Thing, his body gets destroyed and he grows himself a new one.
Which in the modern day is a very common trick.
Yeah.
But back then it was like...
he's dying for like 2 issues,
One of the reasons that Constantine didn't really understand the Green is nobody does. Every avatar pretty much dies with their secrets, and the Parliament are known for keeping them. So every avatar has to relearn everything. Constantine may have seen 2 avatars.
And again, it's very much like, they never tell you everything. They never go like, this is it, this is that, this is that.
You're a puppet.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you see the strings, what's the point?
And I mean, not unlike Parliament in this country, they're not all good.
No.
So the Parliament of Trees, basically all the previous avatars of the Green, and they have retired or decided to die effectively or become one with the Green is probably a better term.
Yeah, it's certainly in some runs. They actually have kind of like an afterlife, like a holding pen for previous
Almost,
ones.
yeah. Kind of.
One of the stories, Swamp Thing actually grants them back their old life, brings them back as human. One of them is a gluttonous... do you remember the golden robot in Futurama who just sits around eating grapes?
Oh, yes.
He's very much that kind of character.
God, is it, what's it called? It's something like a voyeurism bot or something like that?
I don't know. Futurama was funny many moons ago, and it ended sadly, and I never got over it.
But yeah, that's quite an interesting part, that they've got their agenda, they don't believe... I think all the avatars have to die and become... I think they die in fire, is that right? They all die in fire and then come back? Or...
Again, it's another one of those things that every writer...
Depends on the writer, yeah. So, but yeah, so they die and they become an avatar of the Green. And obviously, those original stories were led to believe that he is still a human underneath, that he is... Alec Holland, and that the Bio-Restorative formula is the cause of it.
The big green illusion.
Yeah, and that's not true. We find out that he just becomes an avatar of the Green, because that's the natural order of things, and they had their eye on him. No. But I find them really fascinating, that group of characters. Like there's later on in the Charles Soule run, the Wolf, who is I think the one prior to Alec Holland. I think it's the one from the comic. I believe.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You're going really far back.
Yeah, he kind of looks like one of these
samurai, the samurai guy.
No, he kind of looks like a libertine or something like that.
Yes.
He's got that look about him.
Because there was another part where you meet him, he's literally walking through. There was so many. He was in can I interest you in this hot tub filled with these beautiful green women? No, I have a little more respect for women.
he's like, why not have 2? Why not have 3?
Yeah, it was weird. You kind of imagine going through a plaza with all the people you'd meet, and it's like, can I interest you in these women? Can I interest you in eternal life? Is that a yay for eternal life?
You've got I've got a few friends who, when they talk about comic books, they have an affinity for these kind of monster characters. Would you say that's true of yourself?
Until recently, I would have 100% agreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
My comic books have changed in the last year. As you know, I work for Comic Den. I've been there now for what will be 2 years in January. And I want to say it's annoying.
Okay.
Because when you work in a comic shop, people spoil comic book stories for you if they read them before you.
Yes.
So you are rushing through these stories and you're reading titles you didn't know you'd be interested in. Aquaman is the only Rebirth I've read since Dan Abnett got on it in Rebirth number 1.
Yeah,
went all the way
very
through
good writer.
I'm now reading Martian Manhunter. I never had anything to do with that before this year. Mm-hmm. Deceased, a zombie story featuring DC characters. Sounds boring for me.
Yeah.
Marvel Zombies was pretty boring for me.
Fair
Don't
enough.
believe in zombie stories. Oh dear God, read Deceased. It's so good. Would it be as good if I didn't read Man of Steel, the Superman story? Probably not.
Oh.
I started reading Superman this year.
Fantastic.
I watched Superman 1 for the first time this year.
Shame on you, sir.
Guilty nerd sin. I then watched 2 and 3, and I've been told if I watch 4, I'm an idiot. So...
No, if you watch 4, I mean, you're not an idiot, but...
If I enjoy it, I'll be an idiot.
If you enjoy it, you're probably an idiot. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, you can enjoy it in an ironic way.
Don't worry, the new episode of Watchmen came out. I'll put that on the first.
Okay, fair enough.
So a few years ago, it was all monsters. It was Swamp Thing, Etrigan the Demon, some more Swamp Thing. Justice League Dark, that always appeals to me. The new 52 run was pretty good. Yeah. Wasn't exactly what I wanted. The new run, which is James Tinian's on it, and I think his name's Miguel, who does the artwork. The stuff he's doing on Man-Bat is a reason to read it alone. In this latest issue and the one before it, so you're looking at 2 months, so it's not really a spoiler here. He currently in the comics can inject a serum, and think of it as a percentage. He could be half bat. Yeah. He could be 100% bat. So if he needs his super hearing, he can put his little jab in. Cool. And his head just turns into a bat, which is quite amusing when he's got the little body and the lab coat. He's got a buddy cop relationship with Detective Chimp. It's a very different Man-Bat.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And for some reason, with some dark magic and his serum, he's now a completely hideously mutated bat beast with 5 heads, 1 million eyes, crawling and grotesque grunting. Yeah, they need to fix that.
That sounds quite disturbing.
Yeah, Man-Bat's had quite the year. But his story's interesting, even just inside. I'm reading Wonder Woman as part of that story, a crossover with The Witching Hour. Never read Wonder Woman before.
Great.
I've picked up a 100-page special. If you've not read them, the new 100-page specials, they're like £4.50 for 100 pages.
Yeah. So they're like kind of mini graphic novels, aren't they?
I wouldn't even say mini. Like I've paid £12 for a book that's like 70 pages before.
True, yeah.
I would rather pay £4.50.
Yeah.
I like £4.50.
Sounds good.
That's a good
And
one.
I think when they do those, they pick out some very good stories. Like I've seen Jeff Johns' Green Lantern in there, which is an incredible run. You should definitely read that if you get a chance.
It's more than teasers, but it's enough to make you want to read more or put it down and say, I'm done.
Fair play.
It's the kind of
complete story.
Swamp Thing 1 came out this week.
Okay.
So that is number 1. So I think there's 3 more to come. So definitely look into it. Also this week we had Saga of the Swamp Thing issue 1 as a reprint, as a dollar comic. DC are doing £1 comics. So try new things for a pound.
Go for it.
Certainly the original appearance of...
just read comics in general.
Just read.
Just read comics.
Just sit in a nice quiet corner, read a comic, chill out.
Some good stuff,
you know. Have a Merlot.
Have a nice Merlot, you know.
I'm more of a woo-woo man, but, you know. Woo-woo. I'll take a woo-woo and a Swamp Thing, please.
Yes. I'll have my Porn Star Martini.
Oh, gosh, that stag do, I still remember it. I had many Porn Star Martinis.
I'm sure.
So many. Do you know what hurt more than my liver? And my kidneys and my stomach and the back of my eyes. My wallet. They were £8.50 each.
I thought you were going to say the cancellation of Swamp Thing.
Well, I'm not as angry about that as you'd think.
Okay, tell me more.
Is this the part where we dive into the show and proper picket it?
Yes, I think so. Let's go for it.
Let's start with what we assume is the pilot episode, episode 1. Loved it. I could watch that and introduce new friends to it 100 times over.
Directed by horror director James Wan.
And he has done some great work this year with Aquaman as well.
Yeah.
Aquaman released, was it early this year or late last year?
I think it was December.
For me, it was January. It was amazing. I loved it.
There's some great... The scene with the trench is like pure horror.
Well, he's rumoured to be doing that as a film.
Okay.
Rumoured.
Okay.
I never believe these things.
Sure.
But I'd like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be objected to it.
I mean, if you did Aliens underwater... I think I'm in, to be fair.
If you did Aliens without anything that happened after the originals, yes.
Yes, sure.
So, no, I think that's really good. The problem I have with Swamp Thing is it was 10 episodes. It was never planned to be 10 episodes.
Right.
The original season 1 was supposed to be 13 episodes, and the original idea was 3 seasons. Now, admittedly, this is things we've learned through Facebook blogs and
the stars coming forward, the writers coming forward.
Now, there's a few theories of why the show was cancelled. There's a couple of facts, which I use loosely.
Yeah, sure.
There's a few speculations, and the one I've heard at the moment is the big vision for Swamp Thing was to do 3 seasons, and then maybe a Constantine. Yeah. Maybe do a Justice League Dark. And there's certainly roots of that set.
Oh, definitely. Roots, yeah.
Yeah, a few seeds here and there of a new Justice League Dark.
But then DC Comics decided to turn over another leaf.
Well, they rotted everything out of this one.
Oh, good.
So, you can clearly see...
they're very busy. They're swamped.
Oh, that Greenpeace advert. Dan hadn't actually seen the Greenpeace advert, which was, I believe, 89. And it was the original Swamp Thing, the original actor, the original suit. It was almost like he just stepped off the movie set to talk to 2 children about saving the environment.
Pretty much.
And it's like, you have to help the environment and stop leaving plastic. Why, Swampy? Are you too busy? Well, I'm swamped. Oh, my gosh. We were crying in the back of our eyes like, we can't justify this as comedy. But our bodies won't let it go.
Well, to be fair, those stars were in Return of the Swamp Thing.
They were.
Surprisingly, before this show, the Swamp Thing's had quite a history in other media. So he's had a movie directed by Wes Craven.
Yep.
No, it's not Wes Craven's best movie.
I would not call it good.
No, it's not good. But it's got the kind of classic tropes of Swamp Thing.
I will say, if you're looking at getting into Swamp Thing, don't start.
Yeah, don't go there.
Please don't.
However,
just don't.
There was a sequel. I don't know how, but they decided to do a sequel, which I think slightly more based on the Alan Moore run. However, the tone is totally away from the Alan Moore run. It
felt like a pantomime.
Yes.
And
it's very campy, but I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it was more fun.
It's my napping film.
Yeah, sure.
Like, at the moment, I'm watching Aquaman to nap, or Book of Life, the animated movie. The songs rock me to sleep. But it's one of those films where you can kind of just wake up, enjoy 5 minutes of it, going, all right, I'm bored, nap, Oh, we'll wake up. Yeah.
Then there was 3 series of a live-action TV show in the early 90s.
Animated series.
Anton
Arcane in a children's series.
Yes. Well, I'm sure we'll get into his debauchery. There's so much debauchery.
Forgive me, I've sinned.
Yes. Obviously, the 90s were very environmental. We had Captain Planet.
We did.
We were all
Don
about...
Cheadle.
Yeah. We're all about, saving the planet and stuff, so why not? The Swamp Thing is very apt for that. He is part of the green. He's protector of the green. Why not?
Well, because the film was terrible.
Yeah, there is that. But Swamp Thing has been about, and he's appeared in multiple animated things.
Well, I've been saying for years, we deserve a Swamp Thing film. I never thought TV series. I thought they couldn't do a Swamp Thing TV series. The budget required just simply could not match the expectations of fans like myself. So if we go back, I've been reading Swamp Thing now for 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I have to keep rereading it because Swamp Thing fans won't admit this. There's a lot of boring in the book. There is.
Yeah,
there
can be.
Little tiny bits that are just boring and dragged on. Weird alien appearances. Oh, we're in space.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of gold, and the gold makes it worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
But when you're reading it and you're thinking, man, I really want to share this with people, but how do I get them to read this? How do I get them to step away from the spandex clad?
Yeah, exactly.
How do I get them into it? We've been doing it. The TV shows and stuff. Let's go back to... Ignore the animated series, ignore the live-action series, ignore the old... Please, dear God, ignore the old films. They were a bit before my time, before I knew Swamp Thing. Injustice 2. He was a playable character that came seemingly out of nowhere.
He was.
There was an amazing Easter egg, actually, that went back to the animated series. You had a dialogue between Harley Quinn and Swamp Thing, and it was like, Swamp Thing, you are amazing! Which was the opening of the animated show.
Which was to the tune of Wild Thing.
Yeah, and it was great. I was just sat there like,
Thing.
I get this reference.
You are amazing.
And it was my ringtone for...
I used to have South Park's Uncle Fucker as a ringtone, but then I realised, I work places specifically with children.
I remember.
Yeah, I went, wait, I've got to change that now. Yeah, so that wasn't ideal. But yeah, so we were talking about the first episode, weren't we?
Yeah, but like I said, we needed to be in a position where the world would appreciate Swamp Thing.
Yes.
So big steps had to go before we even got to episode 1. So the animated series, the old films, etc. He appears in Justice League Action. Mark Hamill voices him, which is always good. If Mark Hamill does it, watch it.
Yes.
He's popped up in the old Justice League cartoons only as a silent cameo in the background.
Yep.
He's done a Harley Quinn and Batman movie. He was the big elemental that appeared out the water and went, "Hiya, guys," and then went away. Jason Woodrue got more time than him.
He did. He certainly did.
Harley Quinn taco farting got more time than Swamp Thing in an entire thing wrapped up in a Swamp Thing story.
It's very
criminal.
Like, I knew he would appear. I had a feeling Woodrue's in it, Poison Ivy's in it. It's all about the green.
And the Bio-Restorative formula.
Exactly, yeah.
So then we got to the Justice League Dark animated movie. This is where I think things changed.
Yeah.
We got a big, scary elemental. He popped out of the swamp in the shadows. He wasn't a happy-go-lucky character. Poison Ivy brain controlled him into being the husband in a wedding. It's not that. It's not Mark Hamill putting on no disrespect, a goofy voice. It wasn't the voice I would have chosen for Swamp Thing. John DiMaggio did it in the Harley Quinn.
Well, what I liked about John DiMaggio, I didn't really like the appearance, but what I liked about John DiMaggio was in the Alan Moore run. At the start, when Swamp Thing is created, he can't speak.
No.
He struggles to speak. He can't control his body. He's strong. He's a bit of a brute.
Really woody.
But yeah, this is almost like it's slow. Like, there's so many pauses. If you read the speech bubbles, there's pauses just in the middle of his sentences. Like, a algae or tree or plant or bark is growing slowly but surely, like a forest.
Yeah.
It's branching out.
Every day is something new.
Exactly.
You woke up 12 feet tall. How would you adapt?
Exactly. Yeah.
You'd knock over buses. You'd do all sorts of things. But the way that Swamp Thing has evolved in media and in people's image is just amazing. He went from tiny little cameos in things and cheesy films to a multi-million TV show that has now been picked up by Amazon Prime, which means there's hope for a renewal.
I hope.
Very, very far off. What could happen?
Yes, maybe. If there's enough.
Really like it.
I think we're probably closer to another Daredevil show, maybe, than Swamp Thing.
Well, there is some doors maybe open for that.
Yeah.
So, like I'm saying, we needed to deserve the show. We needed to make sure that it was worth the budget that it was made. That Swamp Thing was relevant.
It's a character that's not easily accessible.
No, he's not had a comic series since the 52.
There you go.
So he's had a winter special. He's popped up in the Curse Comic Cavalcade last year.
He's a character that it's much like kind of Doctor Strange, Daredevil, and what have you. Sometimes the fans don't always go for it, but the creators love these characters.
Well, they teased him in Rebirth by putting him with Constantine for the first 2 volumes of Hellblazer. He's in Justice League Dark as a mainstay, but still very much a background character.
Like I said, creators love certain characters and they will always pop up forever. Even if they've not got an ongoing series, they will shove a Swamp Thing appearance in there. They'll shove a Doctor Strange appearance in there.
Yeah, if you could stop doing that with Gwenpool, that'd be really good.
Sure.
Please. Just let that one stay outside and die.
I have to say, like, the practical effects in this show. If you like practical effects, if you like body horror,
just YouTube the the mortuary scene.
Yeah, the mortuary scene.
If you like that, regardless of the context, just watch the show.
Yeah,
that is just brilliant. Swamp Thing, mortuary scene, or morgue scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'm going to make burger noises quite a lot.
It's very. There's a lot of kind of body horror elements in it, and I think we do see that. I would have liked to see a bit more of that in the series, but I don't think we got.
I think we got it in the first 2 episodes, and then they realised the budget. So the big thing is we've got 1 season now. There was budget problems, there was creative differences. There's a lot of rumours about what was made to be and what was not meant to be. And the big thing is, and I'm going to refer to this a lot, is it was supposed to be 3 seasons.
Yeah, and
then after that, it was supposed to be 13 episodes. And then it was 10. This is where all the problems, bar a couple, are going to appear. Episode 1, perfect pilot. I thought it was great. Very, very early to turn him into Swamp Thing.
I mean, when they introduced the character of Alec Holland and Abby Arcane, who's working with the CDC about this green flu, trying to cure it.
That was something new as well.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I like that idea that it was a kind of mass, epidemic. And they introduced them both to each other brand new. So, like, they've never met before, they have no past connection, no past history.
But great chemistry.
Great chemistry, exactly. Great chemistry.
That's a guy like you wearing sandals in a swamp.
Yeah. But they do have great chemistry and it works. However, he's dead before the end of the show. I think that was a smart way to do because you want to sit your...
I agree with you now.
Yeah.
I didn't then.
True.
Because when you read Saga of the Swamp Thing, it's all about the sadness of no longer being human.
Yes.
The things he misses. Being able to touch, being able to taste, smell.
Yeah. Experience a human life.
Have a beer.
Yeah.
Simple things. So there's a lot of sad... Like, it's not a happy story, Swamp Thing. It's all misery.
It's tragedy.
It's Alan Moore.
Pure horror and tragedy.
Yeah. And the show does reflect that. But in order to get the good, you have to have the bad.
Yeah.
And you went straight into the bad.
True.
And you had very little... Why would you miss Alec?
Yeah.
He's been there for 5 minutes.
And what I think they should have done, I think, yes, kill him off in the first episode, get him to... Because we want to see Swamp Thing.
Yep.
It's not like Daredevil where we're going to get Daredevil but not in the right costume.
Yeah, for 12 episodes?
Yeah, we need to see Swamp Thing because that's what we're paying for.
We only got Punisher in his trench coat and logo.
And then it got...
Second season.
And then that got rid of it. So what I would have suggested was that they have a prior relationship. They've had a previous relationship. They've had a nasty past. They've had a nasty breakup, but there's still, there's love there. And Alec turns up. Are you
seeing this as like a long relationship that's gone sour, or are you seeing it as a short fling that never really lifted off?
Either or. I think you have to have these past relationships because later in the series, they're flashing back to, they're like, oh, I remember when Alec did this and I remember when Alec did that. And I'm like, oh yeah, those 5-minute conversations you had twice in the first episode. I was like, you can't always flash back to one conversation. It would have been nicer if they had more you could go further back.
What if they had 13 episodes? This is the question I'm going to keep coming back to. Because I originally said after the first episode, it's far too early to turn him into Swamp Thing. Even after episode 2, I was like, it's a bit early, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then they started showing the video clips. So Alec kept a video blog of all the work he was doing in the swamp and the conspiracy theories. And I was like, okay, you're keeping him relevant. You can see her bouncing off him off the screen. And it was really good. She sold it. Great actress.
Good. Crystal Reed.
Teen Wolf and Falcone's daughter in Gotham.
Yes.
I liked her role in
Sophia
that.
Falcone?
Which she shared a scene with one of my other favourite TV characters, comic book characters on TV, Professor Pig.
Oh, nice.
That was great. He made her eat homeless people pie.
Of course.
As you do. You don't need to call for help.
What are we having for dinner, Mike?
We had these burgers. They were good.
Were they made of homeless people?
I cannot confirm or deny. There was something about some guy who liked Thundercats. Anyway, we'll move on.
Fair enough.
So, long story short, I was sat there complaining a little bit, but thoroughly loving everything. It was like 55 minutes of great TV I couldn't complain about. And then, what? You're green?
Yeah.
This is too early. How am I going to miss Alex? How is the love story going to develop? And then the video clips just made me fall in love with both the response from Abby and the kind of, it's wholesome. He was a wholesome character.
He's a
He was
lovely
excited
guy.
about his work. He was worried. He was human. That was the big thing.
Yes.
He was human. You know,
He was very fallible. He's a brilliant scientist, but he's also very fallible.
he was a bit of a tit.
Yeah.
Wearing sandals in a swamp.
Yeah.
There we go.
What I also like, you mentioned this before I saw it, about the episode with the spores.
Yes, that was a great.
I think that was a very good way of bringing that actor
So
back.
we referenced it earlier, where the comic books they did it for a love scene. They did it again as a love scene, but also as a warning. So the series, and again, I'm going to put this down to the 3 seasons and 13 episodes problem. They were going, right, green flu. Suddenly, the green flu went away. They figured it out in 3 episodes. Magically disappeared.
Oh, well.
Well, it must have been the season. So they then moved on and they were like, oh, there's darkness. Oh, there's a spoopy thing in there. Oh, it's the rot. Okay. Then we're going to move on away from that again. And we're going to move to the 3rd act of this 10 to 13 episode series. And, oh no, Swamp Thing's a bad guy. We want his DNA. That was the problem. You changed the pacing of the show.
It was.
If the flu lasted longer, if the rot was left for season 2, I think part of the problem is they were baiting the audience. Yeah. Like, if you go, right, we've got 13 episodes, we're being cancelled, we can only air 10. Let's do what we were trying to do, and hopefully the fans will... Do you remember Save Lucifer? Lucifer was cancelled, the internet exploded. I think they were baiting something like that. Yeah. Hashtag Save Swamp Thing. Yeah. And that's where we got these really cool moments that didn't develop.
But you can't bait something when you've only debuted the first episode and then go, oh, it's over. No one's going to watch something that's already been cancelled after the first episode. I didn't. I wouldn't.
Do you know that the team didn't even know it was cancelled until after it aired?
I can't believe that.
Yeah, there was a post from James Wan on Facebook. It's like, we kind of all found out and we're all really disappointed. Yeah. We had a lot of heart and soul into this,
They knew they had something good, and it is good.
Why did they cancel after 1? There was no change.
Why not leave it till the end of the whole series? This is what Derek Mears is, the actor who plays the character of the Swamp Thing. Yeah. And he said, why not leave it a whole season? And then see what the reaction is, and then decide.
For people in the UK, we only got it on Amazon Prime.
In the last couple of weeks.
It was literally like a week ago. Yeah. And that all dropped as a full series. For those who have sources...
Yes.
And Americans...
Or if you are living in America and have access to the DC Universe app...
Yep. You could watch it weekly. So I was lucky enough to watch it weekly. Yeah. And every week I was gripped. I was waiting for the next one. It was really good. But when I knew it was cancelled after episode 1, a lot of people were telling me, I'm not watching it, it's already cancelled. What?
Yeah.
You're watching it because you're not watching it? What? Yeah. You said it looks like a good show, but I'm not watching it because there's no more.
It's not going to go on.
Well, now it's on Amazon Prime. Another example was Young Justice. That wasn't meant to be renewed.
True, yeah.
And that came alive on the DC streaming service because people were like, give me season 3. Give me season 3.
Yeah.
And that happened because it's on the American Netflix. And it's not on the UK one. So people were binge watching it. It was picking up steam. And hashtag Save Young Justice, all the others came about. And we got another season. Please watch Swamp Thing on Amazon Prime. Leave reviews. Hashtag tweet. Everything.
So... When it was first talked about, everyone was in shock. The cast was in shock, the world was in shock, nerds were in shock, Swamp Thing fans were in shock. Everyone was in shock.
I had so many people inbox me.
It's because it's bizarre. It's a bizarre occurrence in entertainment television.
The only DC show I can think that got cancelled before it fully aired in recent history was Powerless.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was silly. It was dumb. For those who don't know, it was basically a show about almost like it was a department of Wayne Tech.
Yeah, living in a DC universe.
Yeah, we've got the anti-rubble umbrella. We've come up with the R&D department to save people's lives. There's an insurance. There's this. It was kind of like
Marvel were developing a damage control series, which is a very comedic. Basically, they appear in. Spider-Man Homecoming, the Vulture
salvage team.
Yeah, basically. And in the comics, it's a comedic thing. So all the superheroes come in, wreck the city, and then it's damage control. Here we come. Oh, what are we like? Kind of thing. So they were developing, and I think they saw how bad Powerless went, and they were like, "No, not going to even touch that."
One good thing I'll say is, even though it was cancelled halfway through, when Adam West passed away, they aired his episode, and he was weirdly charming.
In
Powerless.
Oh, Powerless, right. Okay.
Not in Swamp Thing. He was resurrected as a vegetable.
I was going to say, wow, he was in... I'm not sure if he would have been in the filming.
No.
However, Screen Queen sensation Adrienne Barbeau, who is in The Fog and, various Escape from New York.
Okay.
John Carpenter's former wife. She's in the 1982 Swamp Thing movie. I think she's Alice Cable, I think she's called.
Okay.
And in episode 8, she comes back as Dr. Palomar.
As you do. Always popping up.
A very small role, but I thought it was nice. I like to see it when they
DC
cast...
like to reuse characters.
I like
how many
it.
are in the CW universe?
Yeah. You get Helen Slater and Dean Cain in Supergirl, that sort of thing. I love that Tom Welling and Erica Durant's coming.
They're counting on it for this crisis.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't like half of what's going on in it. Arrow has bored me to death since season 2. And, Flash has had ups and downs, and I'm the fastest. I'm the 12th fastest. My wife is faster than me. Literally happened. And now I'm a bit like, do I have to sit through? Oh, Tom Welling's in it. Oh, Lucifer might be in it. Oh, Tyler Hotchkiss in it with Brandon Routh as Kingdom Come Superman. Yeah. Don't mind if I do. I mean, we like our nostalgia.
I've stepped away from that for a while because there's just too many shows now. Cloak and Dagger just got cancelled today.
Fair.
I never touched it, I'll be honest.
Watched season 1 slow.
I watched none of it. I liked Runaways. I really like Runaways, season 1, but I haven't done season 2 or...
Watched 2, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I like my monsters.
That's fair enough.
Give me more monsters.
So, going back to the cancellation.
Yep.
So, initially it was said that all this news was coming out and they said, right, I think DC said, it was a tax break.
Yeah. People looked into that. Didn't add up.
But then I think it was, is it Louisiana where they filmed it? I know it's set in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Wherever they filmed it, they said, they came back and went, because everyone was like, you cancelled Swamp Thing, it's your fault we cancelled Swamp Thing. No, we gave them as much tax breaks as we would give anybody else.
It was a 50 million tax rebate they were relying on to meet the budget.
Yeah.
But legally, they would only be able to do 12. So that didn't add up anyway.
No,
and also, if you're pandering and you're trying to explain things to an audience that you kind of want to keep on your side because of your streaming service, don't blame anybody else on your budget.
Well, now this is what I believe is the truth.
Okay.
J.J. Abrams, director of the Rise of the Skywalker, Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah, that guy.
Rise of Skywalker, I think it was, which is coming out in December. He is technically to blame, I believe. Warner Bros. Has approached J.J. Abrams, who's been very successful in his movie career, made millions, he's the new Spielberg.
Household name.
All the Super 8, Cloverfield, all this sort of stuff. Produces and writes and directs, all this sort of stuff. Amazing. Currently writing a new Spider-Man comic with his son,
I've read that, by the way.
He's a powerhouse. He's a cinematic powerhouse, no matter what you feel about him.
Look into the comic. It's good.
DC, Warner Bros., Time Warner or Warner Media, whatever you want to call them, asked J.J. Abrams to work out of their studios, to develop things for them. So movies, TV, you name it, for them specifically, and to work out of their offices.
Okay, to lock them under contract.
And to help launch a possible streaming service for Warner Media. They have paid him between $250 million to $500 million just to work out of their offices.
That's more than some countries have.
I know.
Well, a lot of countries.
So
most are in debt.
That's a lot of money to pay one person who has not produced anything yet, has literally not done anything that will make any money for them now until 2 or 3 years down the line, maybe. They had to cut costs without spending any more money. They had to find a way to make that money back without making something new, so all they could do is reduce things, their outgoing.
Swamp Thing was probably the most expensive thing that wasn't cinemaed.
Yes.
So...
Not only this.
The plot thickens.
The Sandman is a very famous DC Vertigo character, an imprint. Mm-hmm. DC Universe, the app, which I think was a mistake not launching that worldwide, but I think there's copyright
Certainly
reasons.
By now.
Yeah. By now, it's been well over a year.
Yeah.
That should have been released worldwide, but I think it's copyright issues. Same with Disney Plus. We're not going to get it till, I believe, 2023. So that
I'll have to watch my old VHSs.
I know, right? Or we'll have to find it through other sources.
Yes,
other
that
means. Yarg! Avast ye, Disney!
We'll have to sail towards it, yes.
So Sandman, weirdly, not going to be on the DC Universe app. It's going to be on Netflix.
Funny that.
So what they've done, again, low cost to them, big, brings in the money. They've sold the rights to Netflix for Neil Gaiman to work on that character, to produce that show, much like Good Omens is on Amazon. He's doing the same thing with his character, the character he created, which I think is a great idea. I think the only person who gets
People need to look
character-
into that.
Yeah, I still need to read Sandman. Like, I've read only volume 1 of Sandman, and I will get around to it. I think as that series comes out, I'm going to just binge all of that. But again, that's a big win for them. They got paid a lot of money and did nothing. So
Love to be handed money.
This is them trying to save money because J.J. Abrams has not produced anything to make that money back yet. So that's my theory.
Well, if you look at the DC streaming service as a whole, UK still doesn't have Doom Patrol.
No.
So when you go back and look at the timeline, they're like, yeah, we're bringing out all these amazing shows. You're going to love them. Starting with Titans. Amazing. Doom Patrol. Better than Swamp Thing. I'm saying that. Then you move on to Swamp Thing. Where's Stargirl? That was next.
Yes.
That was supposed to start airing when Swamp Thing finished. Now, the latest rumour is she's appearing in CW. She's already been in CW.
She has, yeah. With the
Legends
JSA.
of Tomorrow, she was up with Obsidian and
Yeah,
the JSA.
JSA.
What?
Yeah.
So if you pay for the DC streaming service,
Pulled.
promised it.
It's been pulled, mate. It's definitely been pulled.
But they never said anything. They just let it quietly go under the rug.
And that's what happens.
Why couldn't they do it with Swamp Thing?
They've done that. Loads of companies have done that several times.
But why couldn't Swamp Thing be swept under the rug?
I don't know.
After one season, Constantine, back in the day.
Why
Why
weren't the cast told? Why weren't the cast and crew of this show told prior to the episode being aired?
It's the writers I wanted to know, really, because you can see they had a pacing. You can see why introduce the Phantom Stranger? Why introduce the Blue Devil, Madame Xanadu?
Yeah.
You had a reveal of
They had a
Jason
plan.
Woodrow at the end.
They had a plan. And like you said, I think we were going to see a Justice League Dark or a Shadow Pact or a Sentinels of Magic, whatever.
Agents of Shade.
Agents of Shade, yeah.
I would have taken it.
There you go. You know, I think we would have got that. And I like that they peppered stuff, because otherwise it's just a few dudes in a swamp. I think it's good that they peppered this kind of this mystical world.
That's something we haven't mentioned. Swamp Thing as a TV show is a very human plot.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing's like, I don't want to say side
it's
character.
corruption, it's, environmentalism.
Avery. What was it? Avery something or other.
Yeah.
He was, as an actor...
Avery Sunderland.
Avery Sunderland. It was the Sunderland.
I think it's Will Patton, I believe, the actor who plays him.
He had a very punchable face.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very good for a villain. Like, you kind of want to sit there like, you know what? If I met that guy, I'd slap him. He needs a slap. The whole plot behind Swamp Thing is he wants to make money, and if the swamp drains, he can make more money. Make the plants grow.
It's land.
Yeah, make the plants grow, absorb the water.
It's like Lex Luthor in Superman. People will always need land.
I can sell them real estate with my curly hair, which isn't really mine.
Not my curly hair.
But yeah, the idea was we'll drain the swamp, we'll use the land, with the plants we grow with this mutagen. They refer to it as a mutagen more commonly. And we can grow medicines, we can grow herbs, we can grow everything.
We can cure all these diseases.
There is no limit to what we can do.
Yeah.
The swamp fought back, so there was a few limits.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's man versus swamp. That's the premise of season 1. Then as you get further into it, you realise that, Swamp Thing's a monster. We can use him. Maybe he's more valuable than the land. So they want to harvest his DNA. A big part of the plot was Woodrow's wife suffers from, was it dementia?
I think it's dementia. Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. Anyway, some neurological and degenerative disease.
Yeah.
And, we see this a lot in DC. Mr. Freeze's wife, degenerative can't be cured. Yeah. You need something special. Swamp Thing. He's regenerated. Bullet wounds. He's regenerated, not currently in the show, but he's regenerated from one cell.
Limbs,
He's insane. The actual kind of the working of Swamp Thing, as long as he's got a connection to the green energy, he can reappear anywhere. Yeah. He can have one body, 5 bodies. Yeah. The big point in the New 52 is forget you're human. You have limits that you can't even understand.
Yeah,
you could be 20 million feet tall. You could have 20 bodies, 5 arms.
Yeah.
One of my favourite uses of his powers, the animated series. He's got a guy, one of the unmen, who's got wings flying at him with the claws out. Just turns into a cactus. Just outright, come at me, bro. Gonna hurt you more than me. Yeah. So he turns into a cactus.
I think, again, going back to the practical effects, Swamp Thing has never looked better.
No.
Like, he has never looked this good. This is how I imagine Swamp Thing to be. He's muscular. He's huge. He's a big guy. He's got, I think the eyes are
CGI. Stop motion is a big part of it.
Yeah. And I think the CGI is red eyes, and they really are effective as well.
A good thing about it is Derek Mears, who plays the beast of Swamp Thing, the physical husk, he's a monster. Yeah. He's a giant, biggest, friendliest man.
I mean, it's very much in that kind of that classic Frankenstein vein, isn't it? Woe is me.
He played Jason.
He did,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, like once you go from, you're a big towering monster playing another towering monster, you don't want them to be the same.
Lake, swamp.
very much the same for him.
Yeah.
But he hunches, he crawls, he's off balance. It's a new body. He sells it brilliantly. The way he looks at the camera is always slightly down.
Yeah.
And, slowly up.
Yeah.
Very slowly, methodical. I actually remember talking to somebody, I compared him to The Undertaker from WWE.
Yeah.
Everybody else is super fast and doing flips and, it's all acrobats in wrestling now. But he's slow. Yeah. He's enjoying causing pain. He's want all eyes on him. And he slowly moves. And you're drawn in, you're grabbed.
And even when he moves at speed, you're like, oh, fuck. He's coming.
This party is started.
Shit. There's a great bit where two hunters are trying to trap him, and they kind of shoot him and do some other stuff. No, there's a bear trap, that's it. He's got a bear trap. And then he knows that they're hunting him, and they try shooting him, and then he punches these trees.
And they splinter like shotguns.
Yeah, it's like a scatter shot of splinters. One goes in like their leg, the other one goes in their face, and it's like, and it's
but they don't hold back on the gore, but they don't overdo it. It's smart.
It's a nice level of, it's not, R-rated gore, but it's like, it's enough brutality that you're like, oh, fucking hell.
I think my favourite moment, hands down, and it was visual, but it wasn't Swamp Thing. It was a non-practical effect. Yeah. You got to distinguish. Swamp Thing is done both CGI and practical.
There is I mean, that's the perfect way to do it for me, is to marry the two.
But this is where it caught me. The practical side of it is the reason I wanted to watch it, aside of being a comic fan. There was a snake in a sink. It was a hallucination. The guy sticks his hand into the thing. The snake coils around his arm. Yeah. Fuck me, that's believable.
Yeah.
They genuinely made me jump more than anything else in the show. And you wouldn't know it was a fake snake until you saw the actor. Like, if you didn't have human flesh literally next to it, with it on top, it was indistinguishable.
Yeah, exactly.
This snake was so perfectly done. He starts hacking at it with a knife. He puts it in the waste disposal, and every movement from the actor,
a really disturbing scene.
You see his fingers hanging from bones. Yeah. Like, have you ever seen? When you hang your laundry up and one peg's let go and it's hanging limply? That was his fingers. It was awful. It was like, take my strong hand. But the strong hand was like on the floor. And this was an episode that they called The Darkness. It almost felt like it wasn't supposed to be there, like it was a filler.
Yeah.
And again,
I think it's nice to have those episodes every now and again, though. I think just a one-off story.
We had two back-to-back.
Yeah, true.
We had this darkness, and we had the very last bit of the green flu.
Again, like this, for me, this series very much is laying ground for further stories, for further series. And that, in a way, I'm glad they did that, and but again, we're not going to see we're not going to see that flower bloom. You know what I mean? We'll never.
Episode 2, Swamp Thing ripped a man into 5 parts, put vines round every limb he had, and just pulled him apart like a Christmas cracker.
That's a great bit, yeah.
Again, the bit that impressed me, not only the visual, was the snarling, the grunting, the
roars. He has this roar as well.
He does, and it's almost echoey. Yeah. Like a wooden echo. And it's just like somebody did their research.
The voice effects on him are really good. I'm going to compare him, actually, to Killer Croc.
Yes.
From Suicide Squad. Now, Killer Croc, I think the face looked great. But
had no shoulders.
He had no shoulders. That's what I was going to say. His physicality, he didn't look like he had muscle. No. Like it was just like he was just like an emaciated, like hunched over kind of reptilian guy. I want him to be big.
When you see Andy Serkis wearing these suits, and he's got like the mask on, so they've got the scale, but his body's not been built. It was like that. He looked like a Lego person.
He did. The shoulders just disappeared. It was just like one big neck.
He looked like a turd.
It was like a really bad Mike Mignola bit of artwork.
Ooh, have you seen him draw anything other than Hellboy?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Just like massive necks for some reason.
Yeah.
Massive chunky necks coming out of nowhere. But when I looked at Swamp Thing, I went, that's how you do it. I mean, he's green, he's large, he's imposing, he's terrifying.
Did you notice his mouth?
Yeah, initially he doesn't have one, does he?
Until he has a need for it, he doesn't do it. That's the plant part. The human part, there's a very famous scene in the comics, which they do recreate in the show, the autopsy.
Yeah.
And in that, he basically discovers that you are no man, you never were a man, you're the vegetable with the illusions.
Yeah.
Now, in this, he wasn't very aggressive. He was very laid back. He was sedated. He was kept under green light, so he couldn't regenerate. He couldn't do anything. And Dr. Woodrow is cutting him apart, pulling out his organs.
He pleads with him because he's like, I can feel all of this. He's like, you've not got any pain receptors.
It's like, I see your chest moving, but you don't have lungs.
Yeah.
I see you crying, but you don't have tear ducts.
Yeah.
I see you suffering, but you have no reason to be.
Yeah.
Could you strip any more humanity?
Yeah.
But the visuals went with the music, went with the lighting, went Woodrow's face. The actor is
It's Kevin Durand.
Was it Lost or
He was
Prison
in.
Break?
He's been in Legion.
Legion. Oh, that's another good show.
No, not the show. The film. It's kind of about rogue angels and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think they're trying to find the birth of the next Christ or something, or Antichrist. He plays.
That would sound a lot better.
He
than
plays.
just watch Preacher.
I think he plays Azrael, the Angel of Death. I think.
Okay.
He's also the Blob in Wolverine Origins.
No.
Yeah, that's him. Same guy.
What?
That is him. Yeah.
He went from the Blob
to Jason Woodrow. And one of my kind of least favourite things about his performance, I do like him as an actor, I think he is good, but he sounds like the Grinch in this. He's like, this soul is either an animal or it's a plant.
These are animal cells, but they have walls and cellulose.
So you're either you're not a man. You're a vegetable who thinks he's a man. It's like somewhere between that or Edgar from Men in Black. And I was just like, I know you quite like the voice, but I was kind of every time I'm just like, I can't take that seriously.
He's supposed to be a weirdo.
He is weird.
And
no, he's brilliant.
Before you see anything of him, you hear him and you're like, he don't fit in.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I really like, and this is a very small thing, he has his wife, which you don't see a lot in the comics.
I believe originally he was like an alien.
Yeah, he was a reskinned alien.
Yeah,
some versions.
From another world.
Glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a bit too weird.
Yeah, but having another... It was, again, all of this series has become really clever because of the human element. It's a human plot line featuring Swamp Thing. It's a human relationship featuring a monster.
Yeah.
It's a human problem that has to be solved by a human brain at this point.
Yeah.
But later on you can see, actually, there's more to it. You've got the rot. And you've got...
I think they've based it very much in reality, and I think that was good because in later seasons going down the line, when you get to things like the Parliament of the Trees and all that sort of, and you've got Swamp Thing later on journeying to hell itself to get Abby Arcane's soul back. You've got things where Swamp Thing confronts the very first evil in the world, evil itself, the personification of evil, and he faces that down. That's some really out there, wacky, weird shit, and I don't think...
And that would be book 2 of the comics.
Yeah, that'll be like, that's like the second issue. But I think you need, for the regular viewer, you need to ground it in some form of reality. So
Which
I think
why doing the CDC was so good, because it instantly, you opened up into a show like Casualty, which... Common soaps in the UK, they're 10 a penny.
Yeah, true.
You go straight into that and, oh, hang on, Abby Arcane is actually useful.
Yeah.
She's not the white-haired love interest that's just around.
Knocking about,
Again, they added some more to the New 52.
I did quite like, in the comics, I did quite like that she worked with kids with, like, autism and things like that. I thought that was really
She had a good soul, and they proved it.
Yeah.
But in this, she plays a much more pivotal role outside of the relationship.
She has her own, she's very much, she's got a lot of agency. She's not just, a love interest.
We're like 40 years on from where she was originally kind of really bought in. She was introduced in Swamp Thing 2, Saga of the Swamp Thing 2.
Yeah,
shared the same appearance as Patchwork Man.
Yes.
So it was brilliant, don't get me wrong.
Which becomes a little bit like the show towards the end.
Yeah, Frankenstein's monster of shows. If I had one wish, honestly, get the team from Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Get them in.
Get them on it.
And just have them do the next few seasons. I'm not saying that this team did bad. I'm just saying that I have so much faith in everything Doom Patrol did that could renew my faith that it wasn't just a rush.
I'd be really up for, like, if they took a visit to the, like, Swamp Thing Swamp.
Stopping them.
Write a guest episode. Get a nice guest appearance. You can either, and off the back of that appearance, maybe they could spin it off again, or they can do something different.
Do it like Deadpool.
Yeah.
I know it's going to sound really stupid. Danny the Street opens up a door, and you're in the swamp.
Look at that.
Hang on. What's this? You're saying in the room, why Deadpool opens the room and the X-Men are all there, but they never interact, but they're there, and they're all there like, please don't come near us. That kind of thing. You just open up a portal and just go, maybe it's a bit silly for Swamp Thing, but it's not for Doom Patrol. Not in the Doom Patrol side, not in the Swamp Thing
side.
side.
Of course, yeah. I think maybe you'd have to kind of work the...
Chief wouldn't fit
the tone. Yeah.
Chief could translate the whole green.
I think, going back to Kevin Durand, I think they clearly cast him because they wanted him to be... Because he's a very physically imposing actor. He's a tall guy.
He is.
He's about the same height as Derek Mears.
And you've got to remember, most of his interaction was with Abby.
Yeah.
So having the tall, more almost creepy male, isolated with her in things like the mortuary and the crime lab and stuff like that, it instilled this slight tension. Now, I don't want to say it's a overgeneralized sexist thing, but you're in a mortuary with a strange man.
There is a lot of him mansplaining stuff.
Yeah, there is. He's a douche.
Yeah.
But he's written really well. He literally, any discovery Abby makes goes, it doesn't make sense, therefore it's wrong.
Yeah.
But there's a swamp monster. Admittedly, he doesn't know there's a swamp monster.
For a long time.
But
he knows there's something out there.
There is. Yeah. There is some entity. He doesn't even know it's a physical entity. No. It could be an energy, a mutagen.
Literally, it could be a moss or a bacteria.
Yeah. Anything. Human interaction that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've had him in a position of power, but had her match him, that's the first time she's ever done that. You know, she's always, until, New 52, she went around going all Terminator with a shotgun and a biker jacket, but New 52 changed a lot, man.
True.
But mainly, in this, she held her own. Like, not only, I'm not saying she was out-acted, but you look at the kind of credentials of the other people, and they're a bit higher.
Yeah. I thought, I do sometimes... I'm glad the calibre of the acting in this, because there's a lot of shows like this that wouldn't necessarily have strong character performances. Liz, yeah.
Liz, the roommate, the reporter lady, the lesbian. Which was brilliantly done.
Yeah.
They went, this is my partner, and there we go, we moved on.
Yeah.
It was natural, it was fun, they had great chemistry. Yep. We didn't need to dwell on it, but it was brilliant. Yeah. It was just, because she was such a likeable character.
I really liked Virginia Madsen, who plays Avery's wife.
Yes.
She's kind of in DC lore anyway. Her voice is incredible. She's in movies like
Candyman. Everything.
Yeah, she's
everything.
She's a phenomenal actor. She's in Candyman, she's in The Prophecy, she's in loads of movies. And she's Morgan Le Fay in Justice League. She's Hippolyta in the animated Wonder Woman movie. Yeah. She's got her credentials there, especially in the DC world. And she's really good. And she's got this hatred for Abby, because Abby's kind of an adopted daughter who...
That storyline's another thing we need to talk about.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So the Sutherlands had the daughter that was raised with Abby. You never reference the fact that Abby's related to Anton, but Anton's name's never come up yet.
Well, there's a sequence where she has like a bad dream or a vision. Yeah. And there's
all to do with darkness.
Yeah, and there's dark, and I think it's the same episode as The Rot.
The darkness takes your fear and brings it out in a hallucination, but far stronger. It's more like a physical manipulation. It's not, a hallucination insinuates it's just something you're part of, and it's you're interacting with it.
I think
this
it grabs you
violating
It grabs you by your very soul.
Yeah, it's ripping out your bit. That's where the snake came from. Yeah. Liz's dad owns the local bar, which is under the hand of Avery, and he has a hallucination. Like, people come in and rob the place, and his daughter's hurt, and he's held hostage. Something happens. So everybody's got these big fears, and Abby takes it on. And it's a tall gentleman in a trench coat, which was originally one of the old animated things, the old movie. Yeah. He's always kind of been seen to cover up because he's
basically nude, isn't he, in most of his appearances, for the most part.
He's basically like a patchwork Ken doll.
Yeah.
And it works. Yeah. He's got this very vermin-like jaw, which I love.
Yeah.
But anyway, you don't see it, but he's always in the darkness. He's super strong. He's got a very large hand that not only grabs the throat, but around the collar and on a shoulder. So anybody who's read the comic or has seen anything of him goes, that's Anton, or at least enough that I like it. And then that's it. They talk about the Rot, but never Anton, never her heritage and anything like that.
But I think, again...
Season 2, 3.
Yeah. I think we would have seen... the Floronic Man.
Yep.
So at the end of the series, Jason Woodrue eats...
Post-credit.
Yeah, post-credit.
The main thing.
That's true. I was about to turn it off, so I'm glad I stuck around. There's a post-credit scene at the end of the series. Jason Woodrue is arrested. He's eaten some of Swamp Thing.
Yep. He cooked it as well.
Yeah, he cooked it. Mike Cable comes to the police station. There's all these overgrown with leaves and vines and stuff. Cell's been broken out, and he's there. And he's basically... a devilish, because he's kind of got horns, hasn't he? Yeah, almost a devilish version of Swamp Thing, which is the Floronic Man.
It's very much a cartoon interpretation of the devil.
Yeah,
he's got a round jaw that ends with a point.
Yeah,
he's got the big horns. He's hunched.
He's almost like a kind of a Green Goblin. If they ever did if they did a proper Green Goblin, I imagine it looks
very
like
much.
And again, teeth. Practical effect looks amazing, brilliant.
But the stop motion over the top of it, all the vines that were CGI'd, they moved in stop motion.
Yeah.
So they were very quick and jarring and moving.
Yeah.
But they stayed still long enough as well that you were like, oh, that's a plant. It's not a snake. It goes,
it's jagged.
And you follow the pace. You're getting closer. The rustling of the other leaves, the music's picking up. You follow into it and then you're like, do something. And most of the time they won't. But when they do, you're like, oh, you got me. You got me good.
I just want to talk about a few of the kind of criticism I could say about the show.
Okay.
There's a revelation of the man who killed Alec in the show.
Yeah.
And the revelation is...
It's a familiar face.
It's a familiar... I won't spoil that bit if you're going to watch the show, but it's revealed in a very half-assed way. I think it was a lame way.
I think there was more episodes where they were hinting it.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, what were you doing that night?
I think they may have gone... Because it might not have been the last few episodes that they've cut. We've got to think about this.
Yeah.
They could have cut whatever episode they
felt
deemed.
it was between 3 and 5.
3 and 5.
That's where it seemed to drop, because that green flu went away.
For me, I felt it towards the end because all of a sudden... Avery gets supposedly killed.
Yeah.
He comes back. His wife is trying to betray him with another character.
You missed out something very important. He makes it sound like his wife's insane and has her taken away, which is a very heart-driven plot, because what we were talking about with Abby earlier, which we kind of glossed over, was the daughter has been resurrected into the body of this child who had the green flu.
Yeah.
So the child's a bit weaker, they've been suffering, so this possession...
Kind of adopt her, don't they?
Madame Xanadu's the plot device to explain it. It's the door is weakened between life and death. This soul comes in and takes over this child, and the wife of Avery is basically raising this child as her possessed daughter. And Abby was the one who supposedly murdered them. Yeah. We find out later on the swamp actually had something to do with it. It's not very clear.
No.
It looks like they were dragged under by the swamp, but there's always more answers to it than that. There's always something. And then suddenly, oh, she's gone. Oh, everything's gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm fine now. I'm taking medicine.
This lady's out of the insane asylum.
Yeah, true.
Sorry, he's in the insane asylum. Yeah. The husband's running around doing his own thing.
Yeah, it does it's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, I think 3 to 5, somewhere in there.
There's at least like one episode.
There was one episode. I feel one episode about her descent into...
I think you're right. I think it's there, but I also think it's towards the end because, again, Avery looks like he's been killed. There's been mass manipulation.
Well, maybe we're
both
right.
Yeah,
maybe the build was here, but the bigger reveal. Now, if we did the bigger reveal with more information, you would be right.
Yeah.
But maybe if the build was more that the audience got it, but it wasn't written and explained.
Yeah, because the way it's initially revealed, it involves another character's death. It kind of is hinted at, but it's not. It's like this guy could be lying.
Yeah, everyone's a liar.
Until the character that actually did it is confronted and admits it, but it felt lame. It felt like, did it, and it was very out of character. And I was just like,
do you know who Matt Cable is in the comic?
Yeah, he's originally the guy who is friends with Alec Holland and his wife.
Yeah,
they get killed, and he swears vengeance on the people that did it.
And he marries Abby,
and he blames the Swamp Thing for killing Alec Holland and the wife.
Entirely. He marries Abby Arcane. Anton Arcane breaks through from Rotworld into his body while wearing Matt, essentially. Yeah. Ends up sleeping with Abby, having a relationship, being married, and slowly haunting her from the background. And then one day, just in the car, his face kind of just falls off, and it's like, psst, I'm your uncle. We've done things that we shouldn't really be doing, but I'm the Lord of the Rock.
Yeah. By the way, I'm about as evil as you get. Like Anton Arcane.
There's nobody more evil.
There's no redeemable features about Anton Arcane.
No. One of the good things that they put together, I think it was a special that tied into the New 52. It was purely about his descent into the rot. Why was he the Avatar? And it was like he ate rotten flesh. He was always obsessed with decay. He was always this. He was always that. He was always doing disgusting, unspeakable things. Yeah. He is the unredeemable being.
Yes, he is.
And then they just do nothing with Anton in this series.
Yeah.
They do very little to hint at it with Abby, except that one scene, which felt out of place. The whole episode felt out of place.
I think because you don't see... I mean, that could be anybody, to be fair. It's just a shadowy figure. Going back to the episodes and being cut, at the end, with all this stuff with the Conclave, which was the original villains, like, that comes out of nowhere. It's like all of a sudden everybody knows who Swamp Thing is. Yeah. Everybody knows where to find him. Like everyone knows what he can do, his powers, his abilities, what they can gain from it. All of a sudden, it's just totally out of the blue.
I think what they ended up doing was writing Swamp Thing physically in a way where he was unmatched.
Yeah.
And then when they removed some of the episodes where he was learning, and he just seemed to be too good, I think they went, oh, actually, can we nerf him? Can we have an answer? Nitrogen, right?
To be fair, I think they do that in the issue before the autopsy.
They do
the anatomy lesson.
But they didn't test anything.
Yeah,
these agents, just dropped from the sky.
Just go. We'll try this,
and it just so happened that the second thing they tried, the first thing that wasn't bullets, worked. I felt like there should have been more of a learning curve. You know, you've had people with a very famous cover for Swamp Thing was a guy with a chainsaw, a lumberjack-looking guy attacking him.
Amazing.
Could we not have had that?
That sounds amazing. I'm sold.
I would have liked to have seen Swamp Thing literally cut down the middle.
Yeah.
Not understanding why he's not hurt.
I mean, that's a real
screaming.
classic man versus nature type battle, if you will.
Another really weird thing about that scene, it's in daylight. It's foggy, but it's daylight. And it suddenly turns to night. Now,
yes.
I don't have a problem with that, except the visuals were better in the day, in the fog.
Yeah.
And he was moving slowly, and the fog moved slowly around him.
Yeah.
And he jumped out and he did more interactions. Then at night time, it was just gun flashes. No, sorry.
No, true. I do feel as well they could have had, like, they kind of sell this place as, like, Cajun, Murray, it's Cajun. And there's, like...
We're going to have some special shrimp.
Yeah.
Let's all come and have
But
there's
there's almost no Cajun characters in it. No one... I mean, if you can't do the accent, fair enough, but hire a guy in who can. You know, hire a guy hire a guy who is Cajun. You know what I mean?
You literally have one drunk guy at the pub mumbling, "Oh, there's a Swamp Thing. I don't like it. I'm not even going to try and do Cajun."
Did you have any... neither will I. Neither will I. Do you have any other kind of, like, characters you really liked or wanted to talk about?
I have to put them in the same boat. Madame Xanadu, Phantom Stranger, and Blue Devil.
Right.
Clearly made with bigger things in mind.
Yes.
Clearly didn't
Again,
have
we've
the
talked
space.
about the future of where it could have developed.
Madame Xanadu, I think they did enough. They used it to explain the reoccurring of the daughter.
I mean, she's in the comics, she's quite a minimal character anyway. She kind of comes in, tells the future, slopes off for the most part. As far as I'm aware, I don't know a lot about her.
It's very much what's in the cards. It's what the future holds for you.
I did read a comic where she steals the power of the Spectre.
Yeah, not a fan of that one.
Yeah.
One of the things that I liked about her is she was pushing the Blue Devil. Now, Matt, I can't remember his surname. The Blue Devil guy, I think it's Matt.
I can't remember. The actor is Ian Ziering, not Ian.
He was full of energy.
It's not Ian. What's great about him is that he's playing a B-movie actor. He stars in Sharknado, all the Sharknado films. So I think that casting is a stroke of genius. Cassidy.
Oh God, I think Matthew Cassidy. I'm not
Let's
sure.
We'll say Cassidy anyway.
Anyway, long story short, he plays the Blue Devil in this TV show after doing a deal where he magically takes over the place of the lead star, and now he's refined to Murray. He can't leave. Yeah. If he leaves, he sets on fire. It's all bad. It's terrible. And you see his descent from actor to slight madman who runs a video store to the Blue Devil. Yeah. So the Blue Devil in the comics is known for wielding a great big battle axe. He is literally a big blue
trident.
devil.
It's a trident, like
the newer one's got an axe.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's currently turned to stone in the new Justice League. Okay. His weapon has been handed over to Detective Chimp, and he's got a sword that can open portals to places. They were really good friends. Yeah, that was really good, but he didn't get enough time.
No.
Xanadu was the bridge between all these people.
Yeah.
So that's why I think she was better off.
I think she was handled very well. I liked her design. I liked the blindness and the cards, and I liked her little walking stick.
But what did we get out of Blue Devil? We got an excuse to stop all the guards attacking Abby.
It was just a horror. It was a horror scene that didn't feature Swamp Thing.
If you would have cut that, you'd have got an episode worth. Or you're all the beginning of, I can't go outside, it burns. I own a video store, I'm miserable. The mask is tempting me.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we've got an attack scene. You probably got 20 minutes of footage there.
The final problem I have with this series is the Phantom Stranger. So the Phantom Stranger is this...
Phantom who?
Yeah. So the Phantom Stranger is this enigmatic character who, much like the Joker in DC Comics, does not have a set origin.
No.
Until the New 52, I think they decided on something.
They did. They tied him in with Spectre, and it was a big murder. And
I think he might... I believe in the New 52 he's Judas, and he wears the 30 pieces of silver around his neck. And that his curse is to travel the world and never die and try and assist other heroes, basically. He can only
I read his book. I was bored.
Yeah. He says, I think his catchphrase was, "Follow me into weird worlds, for I am the Phantom Stranger."
He also appeared in Batman Damned, I believe. Everything after the bat penis, people forgot.
Yeah, fair enough.
But again, Swamp Thing, great appearance in that.
The guy they cast as the Phantom Stranger, I expected a kind of older, kind of sort of mysterious, maybe an old horror actor like a Tobin Bell from Saw.
I was thinking Jeremy Irons.
I could see that.
For the voice.
Yeah, I could see that. You didn't even have to show his whole face. You didn't have to you could be
In
really
fact,
mysterious.
I wouldn't show his face.
Yeah.
Because if you want something mystical, everybody's got a face.
Yeah.
A Phantom Stranger literally doesn't need one. Keep him under the hood.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep him in the shadows.
Or he's a ghost-like figure.
Yeah.
And he is. But they've cast nothing against the guy, but he is the most average-looking guy I've ever seen. And I do not want the Phantom Stranger to be an average guy. He needs to be otherworldly.
Could they have just changed things around him? maybe turned up the bass on him. Or
I mean, if it was a
the lighting.
disguise, if his average appearance was a disguise, I'd have no problem.
I've got the image of like his eyes silvering over and then him just not knowing where he is, like he was possessed.
Yeah.
That could have been good. No, it actually took me literally after the episode to realise who he was.
Yeah, well, they said,
And
they said, I'm a stranger. And I was like, is he the Phantom Stranger? And they didn't really state it. And I was like, he can't be the Phantom
It felt like they were
Stranger.
twisting a drill. Like, do you get it? Do you get it? I'm a stranger. I'm a stranger.
Because he's not even dressed as the Phantom Stranger.
No.
He does come in later with the medallions and the coat and the hat.
The thing that hurt me is he didn't have a big appearance. Like when he was literally on set, he was just there. There was no flash.
Yeah, there was no grandiose. He didn't feel grandiose.
Physically, a tree like a goat. He just walked out and done something.
Like they could have done some special effects or
Lightning
something. But
snaps,
he just walks over and goes, "Hey, you want to be a blue devil? Hey, the green, yeah." Like that's it. That's all he does. And I felt I was so disappointed because we don't get many appearances of the Phantom Stranger in other media.
And it was important as a plot device. He introduced the green. Like he was the one who said to Swamp Thing, that voice, it's the green. It's speaking. You know, you can tell the memories of the trees from the green. And that was key because it told you the plot about Abby and the murder, and it told you all about the crimes against the swamp, the darkness. He was pivotal.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be, but he was.
I mean, he's a good replacement for John Constantine because he does a lot of that sort of stuff.
Can't use him because he's in CW, so
Fair
good
enough.
choice. But Xanadu could have done it.
True. Yeah, she could have played that role. Coming to the end, final thoughts on the Swamp Thing series.
Wish you were more like Doom Patrol.
Okay.
This is the thing. I knew nothing of Doom Patrol. All I knew is I like the idea of Doom Patrol. I've seen them Brave and the Bold. Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man is one of the most genius things invented ever for no reason. And I watched it. It was 15 episodes. It was character-driven storytelling. It was almost perfect. Every casting choice, every line, every visual, it just landed right. 15 episodes. We deserved the finale because we put the work in.
Yeah.
We got 3 mini-seasons rolled up into a 10-episode thing.
Yeah.
It felt like the destination wasn't where the journey was supposed to lead us.
No.
And that's what I want. Please, just write. I think Netflix was too long at 13 episodes. I think Swamp Thing was too short at 10. Do you remember when we watched The Defenders? It was 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Me and Dad have a history. Whenever a Netflix show came out, we'd watch it in one sitting.
Why?
We were younger then, Dan. You know, we watched Daredevil the first time, and it was like 5 in the evening till like 6 in the morning.
Wasn't it? Season 2.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
We were drinking coffee and injecting it into the back of our eyes just to stay awake. But every episode left on a cliffhanger. Where was that in Swamp Thing?
Yeah, true.
And we felt 13 was too long for Marvel. And then they dropped Defenders to 8, and we were like, yes, it's great.
Yeah.
But Swamp Thing needed the 15. I'd say 15. 13 I don't think would have been enough.
I totally agree with you, Mike. I totally agree with you on every level. I think we needed a bit more time for these ideas to grow and for it to be a good
For
season.
the fruit to blossom?
Yes, for all these lovely flowers to blossom, for the green to just generate more good stuff.
Yeah. If I'm going to leave one final point, it's that people need to know they built a swamp in a studio. I think it was like 200 meters square to film everything in. That's the amount of dedication they put into this show, the amount of money, the amount of time, the amount of effort to get these visuals perfect. And they cancel it after episode 1.
Well, guys, you will have to watch it to find out if Swamp Thing is it more bite or is
I've
it more
annoyed myself.
or is it more bark? But I'm going to leave it there for today. Just quickly, where you can find the pod. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Please come visit us at Comic Den. We have plenty of Swamp Thing. We've got a whole new fan base. And if you're going to pick up any one Swamp Thing book at the moment, make it The Roots of Terror. It is short stories, nice and easy to get into. And it was Len Wein's last story.
Great. There we go.
Definitely
Good one.
worth it.
But yes, so you can find us at Facebook at Secret Balls, on Twitter at Dan_Balls, Instagram Spider Dan Secret Balls. This podcast is available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, many, many more. And if you interact with us, don't forget to use the hashtag prepare for Prattle. See you next time, guys. Bye.